Here's something that if you're truly cool, you've never had to ask. What is a hipster? We're pretty lame, so we constantly ask dumb questions. And today we're even outdoing ourselves by asking, is hipster culture dead? And if it's alive, who's participating in it? Is hipsterism contagious? Are people simply born with it? And those poor victims, are they part of our community? In other words, is there a particular brand of Latino hip or Latino cool? Let's find out. Hipster became a dirty word in the last 5 to 10 years, and many articles declared the death of the hipster for various reasons. The most famous one is 10 Years Old, which was published by New York Magazine, and it asked, in a posthumous tone, what was a hipster? And then you had Vice, a brand that got the most mileage out of anyone who ever touched on hipster subculture, had the gall to tell the world that hipsterism had died just like their own coolness after they started taking money from the likes of Rupert Murdoch. And that was 5 years ago. That's because some people believe that being hip is only a seasonal passing trend, but we're going to argue that it's an old, timeless attitude. To be clear, people, including the hippest of hipsters to a normcore dad, do get over trends. The famous trucker hat was only cool in hipster circles until it started being sold in the likes of Urban Outfitters, which made it mainstream again, and therefore lame. The hat itself became outdated, but for hipsters, the concept behind wearing the accessory in the first place was a subliminal symbol for how well they understood irony. A symbolism which could easily be shifted to any other accessory. That's what makes cool and hip aesthetics interesting to some people, but very tedious to others. As concepts, they can be tricky to define, especially because their trends can be so fickle.
See, no one says cool anymore.
And often contradictory. You can read many books on the topic, but one popular and hotly disputed theory is that hip comes from the West African Wolof language, where the word hepcat means one who has his eyes open. This theory is popular with those who suggest that hip comes from Africa, that the original hipsters were black, and that hipster culture as we know it now is a constant dialogue between white and black Americans. That's probably why the always controversial Norman Mailer wrote an essay about hipsters called The White Negro, which touches on this theory. When it comes to defining cool, Yale professor Robert Farris Thompson also has a theory which is traced to Africa. He basically says that cool is inner balance, the capacity to be chill in the face of adversity, or literally keep a straight face while dancing some complicated polyrhythmic dances. Farris Thompson has also written about cool Afro-Latin dances such as mambo, but we'll get to that in another video. The point is that being truly hip or cool is an attitude, a gesture, a state of mind that we associate with being enlightened, and basically marching to the beat of your own drum. In other words, a heightened sense of identity, one that typically goes against the mainstream, and it doesn't grow old, it evolves, often in cloudy and contradicting ways. For example, a hipster can like Cher, one of the biggest pop stars in the world, primarily because she has tremendous camp value, but dislike Lady Gaga, a talented, equally famous singer, but one who's perceived as being more imitative than truly original. Since the Americano series loves looking at Latino culture from unorthodox angles, we have to ask ourselves, how does hipsterism apply to us? Well, in Latino land, hip needs to cut deeper. The subculture has to develop a super heightened sense of identity, like a double judo move on mainstream conformism, but that requires a nuanced, multi-layered analysis, which is why we're going to be dissecting different types of Latino coolness in a new series, such as the leftist guerrilla hero, the Trickster, and the Frida Kahlo, so stay tuned for those profiles. It will be a humorous effort to try to get to know our culture a little better, and to highlight some ideas about coolness that have been around us for a while. That's it for this video. Check out the Americano on social media for more content. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you soon. Ciao.